Well, hello, scientists. Nice to see you. I want to thank all of you who sent me ideas that I could send the principals on ways to change Woodland Playground to make it more comfortable for the students in the late afternoon. I want to go through some of the ideas that you gave me. So, lots of people had the same ideas. A very common one was from my class, Jason and Gabby and Jack and Brooklyn, um, Riley from Mrs. Bogers, Ethan from Mrs. McDaniel, and then Aubrey, Hiva, Abigail, Bryn, and Lexi from Mrs. Briggs's class. They all had the idea to somehow paint the playground, paint the surfaces, make them lighter. That way they wouldn't be dark and hotter, right? Because Carver Elementary had a pale surface. So they thought, let's make the surface pale at Woodland by painting it or changing it. So that was a great idea to have. A lot of people also talked about adding shade. Like from my class, Brooklyn and Jason and Gabby talked about having shade, possibly using trees. Easton and Grayson said we could put umbrellas, like big umbrellas out there, and then students could sit in the shade. Riley from Mrs. Boger's class thought about shade. Ben did from Mrs. McDaniel's class. Ethan thought about umbrellas too. From Mrs. Briggs's class, we had Henry, Hiva, and Lexi, who all thought about adding either trees or umbrellas to give us that extra shade. Some other things we talked about that sounded really fun would be at a pool. Wouldn't that be fun to cool things off? So we had Grayson and Henry, Grayson from Mrs. Perlin's class and Henry from Mrs. Briggs's class, and Easton, they all thought of water features. Like Easton thought about sprinklers, and Grayson and Henry thought about adding a pool. Grayson and Henry also thought about adding fans on the playground to cool things off. And Riley from Mrs. Bower's class thought, wouldn't it be cool to have like an underground playground? I think she was thinking about that book that we read, how there were some homes that were underground. If we had an underground playground, or we could build tunnels throughout the playground, and then that way there would be lots of shade. So really great ideas from so many awesome scientists. Thank you so much for your input. I went ahead and I sent all of these ideas to the principals, and we came up with an idea for the playground based on what ideas we heard the most from. We had the greatest amount of here. So let me show you our before Woodland playground and then our after Woodland playground. So here is Woodland playground before. And here is the new Woodland playground with the improvements that many of you talked about, which was making the surface lighter and adding some shaded areas. They used trees to shade here. So this is an idea that the principal has sort of drawn up, taking your advice to solve this problem. Just like Savannah from Miss Sanborn's class said, to make the playground a lighter color, right? That way it won't get so hot in the afternoon. What do you boys and girls think? Pretty cool, right? Great job with all your suggestions. So isn't that great? So the principals are so thankful to you for figuring out this problem, scientists. You are so smart. And now you know the process to go through when you're trying to figure something out as a weather scientist or any kind of scientist. The principals did tell me, though, they are having another issue on the playground. It's actually the same issue I'm having right now in my backyard. I shot a video a couple days ago. I should go out there now because we've had so much rain lately. It's probably even worse back there. Let me show you what I'm talking about. As you walk over here, it's been raining all night. And look at, can you see? We have all this flooding. It's been sitting here all day. So when they go to climb up the rock wall and come down, we're gonna land in the big pit of water. And it's not like that. There's water here. I know I'm kind of in the way. It's not like that anywhere else in my yard. The rest of my yard is just fine. Just that one area is the problem by the swing set. So the principals are having a problem with flooding. Before we get into their exact problem, I want to talk a little bit about severe weather, what severe weather is, before we talk about their specific problem. So we have a book we're going to look at today about severe weather. Okay, so we're going to read this book called Tornado: Predicting Severe Weather. Lynn Burse is a scientist who studies weather. Lynn knows about all different kinds of weather. She spends a lot of time thinking about severe weather, which is very strong or bad weather. Lynn loves her job. She says, "I like that the weather is different every day." She also likes that she can help people stay safe from severe weather. Lynn works with other scientists at a weather station. The scientists study the weather together. Lynn says, "It's great to be part of a team." There's Lynn, right, and all the weather scientists. A big part of Lynn's job is predicting the weather where she lives. She uses observations of the weather that is happening now to think about what will happen next. Many people use the predictions that Lynn makes. Farmers need to know what the weather will be like so they can decide when to plant their crops. Pilots need to know when, where it is safe to fly planes. All the people who live in Lynn's area need to know when severe weather is coming so they can prepare. To make a prediction, Lynn uses many types of data. She checks how fast the wind is blowing. She checks how much rain has fallen from the sky. She checks the temperature. She also looks at how the weather is changing over time. The next page shows some of the tools that Lynn uses to measure the weather. So let's move this up here so you can see it. So here we have, it says this tool measures how fast the wind is blowing, right here. This tool measures which way the wind is blowing. This tool is a thermometer. It measures the temperature. Looks very different than our thermometer that we were using, right? Many different kinds of thermometers. This tool right here gets energy from sunlight to power all the other tools. And this tool right here measures how much rain has fallen. Different kinds of weather happen at different temperatures. When temperatures get warmer where Lynn lives, thunderstorms can happen. Those thunderstorms sometimes lead to tornadoes. A tornado is air spinning from a cloud down to the ground. The wind in a tornado is very fast as a race car. A tornado is one type of severe weather. Tornadoes can be very dangerous. Their fast winds can lift big things into the air and damage buildings and trees. That's why it's so important for weather scientists to know how to predict tornadoes. Weather scientists warn people when a tornado is coming. Lynn says her biggest hope is that people will have plenty of time to prepare when she and her team send out a warning. One winter day, the weather was warm, wet, and windy. Thunderstorms were coming to town. Lynn and her team predicted that a tornado was forming. They had to warn people about the tornado. Lynn and her team sent warnings to all the people in town. They wanted everyone to be able to prepare for the tornado. At the school, the principal told students to stay inside and away from the windows in the strongest part of the building. When the tornado hit the school, all the students were safe inside. And we practice that at school, don't we? Going to a safe spot. Luckily, no one was badly hurt, even though buildings, cars, and buses were damaged. Lynn and her team had predicted the tornado in time. They had warned the whole town. People had time to prepare. The scientists had done a great job. Lynn says weather affects everyone every day. Lynn says her job is interesting and rewarding because she helps people understand the weather around them. She likes using science to help people stay safe, even when the weather becomes severe. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and share with you the new problem that Woodland Playground is having. First, they're too hot. Now they have another problem. Let me read you the email the principal sent. Dear class, thank you for your work as weather scientists to help with the temperature problems at our school. Now we would like your help with a new playground problem. Carver and Woodland both have lots of rain during this time of year. The problem is that Woodland's playground floods from all the rain, and the students cannot go out to play at recess. Will you help us figure out why Woodland's playground floods? To help, we have sent some new weather data from our school. Sincerely, the principals. So being a weather scientist is important because it really helps people to prepare for severe weather. Let's look at some pictures of weather side by side. I want you to decide which picture is severe and which picture is not severe. So here's our first set of pictures. We have some rain, right? And I can see puddles on the left on the sidewalk, but on the right, that is definitely severe weather. Look at the cars are sitting in water. That can cause some real problems. Here's our next picture. Let's see, on the left we have someone flying a kite in a nice gentle wind, but on the right, you can tell that that is severe weather, right? The trees are blowing really hard. Very, very windy. Now looking here, which picture is showing severe weather? Hopefully you're thinking the one on the left, right? Look at, it's so severe that a tree either lightning hit it or it blew down. It's causing a problem with people getting through on the road. Picture on the right is showing a beautiful day. Here we have on the left a playground that is really flooded severely, where you'd have a really hard time getting to those places to play. Picture on the right isn't so severe, is it? That's what we see after a rainy day. That's what I see in my backyard. It's not a severe problem. It's an annoying problem, but not a severe problem. Okay, here is an example of winter time. Which one is showing severe weather? The one on the right, right? Right. So yeah, and we live in Michigan, so we are very familiar with weather scientists alerting us all the time in the weather time. Oh, there's going to be icy roads tomorrow. It's going to be zero visibility tomorrow. So they're always on top of the weather in the wintertime in Michigan. So let's look at Carver Playground and Woodland Playground side by side. What are the differences that you see that could be causing flooding? Remember, Woodland Playground with the dark surface is the playground that is having the flooding issue. Carver is not having the flooding issue. So what could be the reason for that? Maybe it's the weather. Maybe Woodland is getting more rain than Carver. Let's look at the weather data the principals gave us because they knew I was going to ask for it. So here's Carver Elementary, and here's the type of weather that they've been getting daily for 12 days. So you can see they've gotten a lot of rain, right? We've had a couple of cloudy days and 12 days of rain. All right, let's look at Woodland Elementary School now, and let's see what their weather is like. So here's Woodland Elementary, and goodness, their data looks exactly like Carver Elementary.
which is what we found when we were looking at the first original problem between Woodland and Carver, is that they had the same type of weather. They're so close that that is what happens. Let's look at them side by side just to make sure. So yes, both Carver and Woodland Elementary School have the same type of weather. So we know that it has rained at both schools the same amount of days, same amount of time. So the type of weather that's happening cannot be the reason why Woodland is flooding and why Carver is not. So look at the playgrounds again. Think about what the reason could possibly be. Like I notice on Carver Playground, the trash cans have covers, and on Woodland Playground, they don't. On Carver Playground, there's a fountain. Woodland doesn't. Would the color of the surface matter? Carver's lighter, Woodland's darker. Would that matter?
So what do you think? What could be some reasons for this flooding? And what could we do to figure out if those are the reasons? How would we do it? What would we use? Think about that. Get back to me. Let me know your thoughts on the new problem that's going on.